The New York Knicks, although they had a pretty eventful offseason, and they've had a pretty good season this year too, haven't quite lived up to expectations. And it's for one reason, fellas. Because when they play against the top teams in the East, they've lost every game. The Knicks are 0-7 against the top three seeds in the Eastern, or the top three teams in the NBA, actually. They're 0-3 against the Celtics, 0-2 against the Cavs, and 0-2 against the Thunder. And although they've given us good moments this year, they've had some good winning streaks. Against those teams, they've just looked abysmal, including what, Shield? They lost by 40 the other night to the Cavs?
37, I'm sorry.
So it leads me and a lot of us to believe, are the Knicks really, truly contenders come playoff time?
Well, don't leave out previous to Sunday's game, the two games that they lost to the Celtics. They beaten them by an average margin of 25. And Oklahoma City has beaten them by an average margin of 18. So they're not losing to these teams. They're getting smoked. New York, Oklahoma City went into Madison Square Garden and stomped them. Don't let that 18-point lead, don't let that fool you. It was way worse than that. They got whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. They do everything. And you guys talk to me about this all the time, about making guys unplayable come playoff time. If Cat wasn't the scorer that he is, he would be unplayable against these kind of teams, because they do everything and they do any and everything to not only get him into action, but keep him in action. He's not a rim protector. He's awful in drop. He doesn't recover well, and they take advantage of that on every level. And not just the Celtics, not just the Cavs. Oklahoma City did it also. And this Knicks team, if they play against the Celtics, which is why they were built to beat the Celtics. That's why they made the trades that they made. The main reason why they would struggle against the Boston Celtics is because they got to outshoot them. Because the Celtics defense is just as good as theirs, if not better. And they're more versatile in terms of their rotation players. So they're gonna clearly have to outshoot them. And you don't have the personnel to do that. That's a huge problem. Then you got Cleveland, who now they've gotten better on their front line. Evan Mobley is the difference. He's gotten better on the front line. 2 years ago, he was a pup. With him being a pup, he really, and Jared Allen said it, the bright lights were what got the best of us. And then Coach Tibs doesn't, I think Coach Tibs, and I'm on record saying this, I don't think he utilizes his bench as much as he should. He's got rotation guys. They just have to play more than they do. Because Coach Tibs, if you're not doing anything early, he's out.
Mars, I have a question for you. And it's actually the poll I'm running in the chat. Now, I know one of the teams they have to go all the way to the finals to beat. But of the top three teams in the league, hypothetically speaking, if the Knicks run into these teams, the Thunder, the Cavs, and the Celtics, can you list the order in which you believe that they can beat that team?
I think they lose to all of them. I want to start off with that. I think they lose.
It'll be any of them, Mars? Not one of them?
I don't think they beat any of them. But if you ask me, which you did,
who do they have
they have the best chance? I think they have the best chance against the Thunder. Then I think next would be, I don't think they have any chance against either one of those Eastern teams.
Why don't you like them against the Thunder? Is it Shea being their only real offensive force?
Yeah, like with OKC, it's just because I don't know if we're going to talk about what happened last night, but if you're able to get Shea off the ball, like whether that's traps, double zones, whatever, there's a chance that OKC's complementary guys won't be able to beat you. Now, over the course of a series, I don't give the Knicks any chance of actually winning, but there is a chance that OKC's role players and J-Dub and Chet or whoever just aren't good enough offensively to punish the Knicks defense. It's probably like a 0.6% chance, but compared to the Cavs and the Celtics, where I think the Knicks genuinely have no chance, I'm going to say the Thunder are the team they have the most likelihood of beating, but I still don't think they're going to beat them. And then between the Cavs and the Celtics, who do I think they're more likely to beat?
If you had to choose between the two, Mars, like you had to pick one of them.
Well, I mean, you're asking me, what do I think is a bigger number, 0 or 0.0?
I was just about to say, Mars. Let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase the question there, Mars. The question is you think they'd lose to both of them? Which one would they lose to the worst?
They get smoked by both.
They get smoked. So the
I don't-
Cavs just
I think the Celtics smoke. I think the
them.
Celtics smoke.
I think the Celtics, they would lose 2 more. If so,
So Cleveland's got a better
Really?
chance in beating them. Cleveland's got a better chance in winning.
No. He's saying Celtics beat them worse, right?
Cleveland will win by like an average margin of like 11 a game. Boston could win by like 14 a game.
So both of these teams are sweeping them.
I mean, Boston could lose a game because they just go cold from 3, but the Knicks won't beat them off like, oh, this game plan is the one that's going to beat them. No, you won because Boston decided to not make threes that night. That's why they'll lose.
Do you know what they're currently losing to those teams by? Those contenders?
I think Joe just said it. 18 to OKC, 20 something to the
contenders. They're losing by an average margin of 20 points per game.
Yeah,
Penn, come on, Penn. What we
close.
doing, man? Like we getting stomped. We're not losing, Penn. We getting
See,
stomped.
when you say those numbers, it really kills. It just deflates everything I wanted to say.
It
this
does,
whole time because I heard because Chill, you told me that before today. We talked about this already before about the margin that they're losing to these teams. And in my mind, when Marge is saying these, I'm like, nah, I could see him beating the Cavs. Like, if they do this, if OG, and if OG and Mikal do this, they could beat the Celtics. I'm thinking like, yeah, they could do it. And then when you tell me that these boys is getting spanked by a dub piece, whoo.
They're not
I'm not even gonna waste your time. Like, that would be disrespectful for me to sit here and talk to y'all about how the Knicks could beat these teams. They're not beating these teams.
They're not losing, Ox. They're
losing
losing by a sizable margin.
Like, Chill. When you fighting somebody, you get a rematch. Like, at some point in that fight, you was like, man, I had him on the ropes. Nah, bro, I don't see that.
Penn, what is it? Like, what is the problem with the Knicks?
Defense.
Terrible.
Defense and more defense. Look, how do you define a contender? I define typically a top 5 offense, a top 5 defense, and a top 5 player. That's the prototype. To me, that's the most consistent blueprint that produces championships in the NBA.
I can get with that.
And then you got to pray, because there's a lot of top 5 teams offensively and defensively with really great players, like sometimes even multiple great players that don't win in the finals, like the Miami Heat 2 times, during LeBron's tenure. So, you just need to get to the dance. They're not getting to the dance at this point, right? Now, the other part of this is you play your starters into the ground. What happens when Boston and Cleveland start playing their starters into the ground? What happens when Memphis starts playing? I think you need to expand the conversation beyond those teams and ask yourself, who do you think this Knicks team can beat in the playoffs?
Really?
Like, I realize most people have them 3rd, right? They have them 3rd in the East.
That's where they are now.
Okay. How many teams in the West do you genuinely think? Let's just say OKC is not the team that comes out of the West. Let's say the Lakers come out of the West or the Nuggets come out of the West. How many teams do you have to go down before you pick the Knicks in a series in the finals? Let's just.
You don't think the Nuggets can play?
I think they can beat. I think they can beat the Nuggets. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, you don't think they could play with the Nuggets and the Lakers, man?
I think Jamal Murray and Joker put Cat in that action and destroy them.
Yeah, but Cat to get his. Jalen Brunson to get his too.
Yo, Swiper just fell off the toilet.
They get the parts.
Swiper probably thinks the Nuggets are probably the favorites in the
Cat doesn't have Nas Reed. He doesn't have Nas Reed and Rudy and McDaniels to protect him like he did last season.
He doesn't need to be protected. He doesn't need to be protected. He can guard.
What?
Let me make sure, because I have a problem with making what I'm saying very clear.
You got to clarify.
Karl Anthony Towns' only viability defensively is that he's a good post defender. Denver post up more than any team in the NBA.
Yeah.
A Denver matchup is not the worst matchup for Karl Anthony Towns defensively.
A
horrible matchup for him would be if they played the Warriors, he would get fried. If they played the Lakers, he would get fried. Denver, for as funny as it is, because Jokic is the best offensive player in the world, Denver is like the best matchup you could hope for Cat defensively. And it's crazy because he's going up against a legitimate center, so his contemporary at his position, and he's the best player in the world at the same time, and somehow that's his best matchup. So it's funny, but where Cat's at is worse is heavy pick and roll teams, heavy spread offenses, or teams that move the ball a lot in terms of motion, and like Golden State, Sacramento type teams, not the Nuggets.
Isn't that Denver?
Nah, Denver, they have their 2-man game, and he's gonna struggle. Obviously, he's gonna struggle in that 2-man game. But if you keep him attached to Jokic, and then you start sending help from elsewhere on that 2-man game, instead of having him help, you can make Cat serviceable defensively in that series. And then on the other side of the ball, Denver have no chance of guarding the Knicks. They can't guard him. So I actually think the Knicks, if they want to see a team, if they were to get to the finals somehow by the grace of God, and they saw the Nuggets, I actually think they would probably win that series. Or it would be close.
Wait, real quick though, y'all. What's up with Mitch? Like, what's up with Mitch? He's
supposed to
back
return this week.
He's back. Yeah, he's back soon.
I think he makes a huge difference.
That changes things majorly. Mitch is a game changer. He might not be a top 5, top 10 center. I don't know how y'all feel about Mitch, but he changes things for them drastically.
Ox, he's missed 2/3 of the season. How much is he going to play right out the gate? The playoffs start in less than 2 months. What are we going to do with this guy?
2 months is a long time to get.
No, it's not.
Your conditioning to get
That's
your conditioning.
Plenty of time.
Not when you
60 days.
Not when you fighting for playoff position. Not when you.
They're not fighting for playoff position. They're gonna get the preseason. They're gonna be all right.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mars, because Penn brought up the teams in the Western Conference. Penn, how about we stay in the East? How you feel about them
in the East?
How you feel about them against Detroit in round 1?
They spanking Detroit, especially with
you
me.
Sure?
Not so
sure?
fast. Not so fast. Not so fast.
They got Mitch. They spanking Detroit. Y'all cut it out.
When you say spank, you're telling me
when I say spank, I mean 5 or 6.
Yo, people are not expecting
more likely
this,
5.
but I am starting to really respect the hell out of this Pistons team.
And Cade.
I respect them as well. I respect them. I respect them too. But I'm not.
You're not respecting the team if you telling me they're getting smacked.
That's just because I can respect the team that's going to get their ass whooped. I don't have to. Just because I respect you doesn't mean I got to think you're going to win everything. You know what I'm saying? By me respecting you is me just being as real as possible with what I think your abilities are. I think the Pistons have made a major leap this year. I think their younger players are doing their thing. Mike Beasley, he's doing his thing. You know what I mean? Cade has arrived, but that team doesn't mean that I think that they're gonna win against the Knicks, especially with the healthy Mitchell Robinson. Or
could they get a game? But let's
that's why I said when I said spank, I said 5 or 6 games.
I think this series is tied 2-2, and I think the Knicks go back home and they win in a dogfight in Game 5.
That's a hell of a prediction to make.
What happens?
I think they win in a dogfight in Game 5.
What happens in Game 6?
I think that they go home and they end it. But I think that they ended in a dogfight.
I mean, look, there's a lot of young teams that follow this trajectory of competitive but out in 6. Right. And so you wouldn't be wrong in saying that that's what's supposed to happen. I'm just saying once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. Right.
Yes.
You get injuries. You get like a Jalen Brunson twists his ankle. Boom. Now he's hobbled. Karl Anthony Towns twists his knee. Boom. He's out. Now what? This is the problem with the Knicks. It's a house of cards. It's always a house of cards. Right. Last year, they traded away they exchanged a lot of their depth last year to go in for this like very dominant starting 5, right? But it's a very flawed starting 5. Mitchell Robinson coming back, if he is like 80% of what he was at the idealized apex, he is a major, major game changer for them because he gives them the thing that they don't have, which is a competent player who can protect the rim, right? They just don't have it. So
and a major offensive rebounder too, Pin. His offensive rebound.
Which is what they need. Which is what they need.
100%
they need that.
But like the loss of Isaiah Hartenstein, I feel is a huge one for this team, right? To the point where I'm really questioning whether they gave up 5 first-round picks in a swap for Mikal Bridges. 5. Yeah, 5. That's nuts, right? Because we're seeing right now players like Zach LaVine.
Yes.
Hey,
yes.
Brooklyn.
The Nets did that.
Yes.
Brooklyn went over to Madison Square Garden and just like stick them up. Stick them up. We want everything.
5-1s.
Hey, okay. Yo, Ox.
You see?
I don't know what chick ran that play. That's the hell out of him, boy.
They
made
gave
him run
up
everything.
They gave him back their picks. You know how valuable those Brooklyn ones were?
Yes.
That is such a valuable pick. And to get that from Mikal Bridges, because this like compulsive gambler that's running the Knicks right now. This is really like you realize they gave up more for Mikal Bridges than what currently De'Aaron Fox and Brandon Ingram went for combined.
How about
Is that a fair statement? In terms of pick equity,
we got Zach. Oh, pick. Okay.
Yeah, but do you think maybe the landscape of the league changed? Because I don't want to, you know how obviously the going rate yesterday isn't the same going rate today. Now,
Yesterday's
obviously,
price wasn't today's price.
Yeah, exactly. So I know obviously when you look at it, you're like, damn, they gave up this and they only got this. But in terms of market value, in terms of the difference in the times.
okay, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Zach LaVine or would you rather have Mikal Bridges?
I hate to step in and interrupt this intense yap session that you're currently watching, but I just have to inform you on all the amazing, spectacular, fabulous, endless ways to play and win over at Prize Picks. Basketball fans, I know the season is just tipping off. Yes, I know this. But you know what that means? It means that you have an opportunity to pick your favorite players and their matchups that are the most thrilling, and you can win money from these. With Prize Picks, you can play daily NBA contests and test your hoop knowledge by choosing the player projections and every single stat line imaginable to make your Prize Picks and take home some nice hard-earned cash. Are you a rookie in the game? Don't even sweat it. I got the playbook for you right here. All you have to do is download Prize Picks, use promo code PANEL, and you will get $50 instantly when you play 5 here with Prize Picks. So what are you waiting for? Download Prize Picks, use promo code PANEL, and join me as we break down all of our amazing daily picks right here on the panel. Prize Picks. Run your game, control your game, win your game. It's easy, baby. It's easy. Zach.
Zach LaVine.
Okay,
Chain
so that's what I'm saying. Zach LaVine was being dangled for free.
And those picks that the Knicks gave up, those picks that the Knicks gave up is very much like what Minnesota did with Rudy. They're looking at those picks, the 24th, the 25th pick. I mean, they're the third. They got the third seed in the East, which means that pick will probably be somewhere in the mid-20s. So they're really not valuing that pick as much. They're trying to win right now. And since
this is a team that lacks depth.
Yeah,
how do you get depth? You hit on your draft picks.
But see, here's the difference, though. I don't think that they lack depth more than Tibs doesn't use. I mean, like this point guard Kolick from Marquette, I think he can play. I just don't think Tibs sticks with him. I think McBride can play.
Okay, Tyler.
I definitely think McBride could get some minutes.
I want to get something on the record. You're in the opening round. Sorry, you're in the second round. You got the Celtics, and Jalen Brunson needs a breather. You're bringing in Tyler Kolick.
So they got
as opposed
that kind of faith.
Well, here's the difference. Here's the difference with that, Penn. The reason why I'm saying that is because when Campaign comes in, if I don't get anything from him early, he's done for the day. That's it. I don't get no more. Tibs is not gonna yank him out of the lineup and then put him back in later for another 10 or 15 minutes. No.
If he misses 2 shots, you're sending him back to the locker room.
He's out.
You're out. Parking lot.
Tibs does not waste a lot of time with these guys.
That's not a recipe for success.
It's not. But you do have a good rotation guard in. You do have a good rotation guard in Campaign. I think you got a good rotation guard in Kolick. I don't think that Precious. Here's the thing, Penn. Here's the thing that I'm saying. I think you got a good rotation guard in this kid Kolick if you use him more. I don't know what he is. But from what I've seen, he looks like a good rotation guard. The problem is that he hasn't been used as much. So because of that, and the playoffs are coming up quickly, and he's a rook, immediately the idea is, well, he probably won't play. Well, he probably won't play because you haven't used him. But you have used Precious Achiuwa. You have used McBride. You have used Campaign. You have used who's the other big guy that I'm thinking about that they have?
Jericho?
Sims is gone. No, Sims is gone.
Oh no,
Sims is gone. But they got another guy in their rotation. So with these guys that he's used, he doesn't use them long because Tibs is very starting 5 or 6 heavy. The rotate and it makes it look like his rotation guys aren't good. No, they are actually good.
Chill, but the thing too is when Penn was talking about what they gave up for Mikal Bridges, I just want to go back similar to what Ron was saying about like market value and whatnot. I want us to just put ourselves in their shoes for a second and think what they were thinking. You know what I'm saying? Like to them, they're like, we get Mikal Bridges and we solidify our wing defense. We can compete with the Celtics. Now, regardless of whether this experiment is working or whether or not it's going to work, just the idea of where they were coming from, to your point, Chill, they're like, well, these draft picks could be something, but at the same time, they'll probably be late first, whatever. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think they were. I mean, but that's where I'm looking at it. Pin. You can see you can't just always look at it one way. Like you can say this is the way you build a team. This is how you build it. Yeah, that's cool. Like for y'all, but for some of us, we want to go in and we want to go with a wing defense that we think is going to shut things down. We get Mitchell Robinson back. He protects the basket. Boom, our defense is solidified. That's how they're looking at it. That's the personality of a guy like Tibs. You know what I'm saying? That's their personality. So I'm now, once again, I'm not saying whether they were right or whether they're wrong. I just want us to look at it from their point of view. We're looking at it from one point of view, like that was just a stupid move. You guys are also saying about Tibs. See, you guys are looking at it from, I think Chill, you're looking at it from how you would react when you was playing. Like some people can react to that. You're not playing good, get better, get out. You know what I mean? I know everybody might not want to play like that, but it's like, he runs a tight ship. You know what I'm saying? I'm strict on how I want my things. You know, it's like you know, it's I've never been to the military, but I'm thinking I'm assuming what it's like in the military. When you mess up, your supervisor, whoever's ahead of you, your lieutenant, whoever your sergeant is like, hey, you know, straighten up. So, you know, and some of us, some people don't like that. Some people do. You know what I mean? It's just two different styles is all I'm saying. We can't always expect it to be the style we're accustomed to or the style that we want to see. You know what I mean? The Knicks got something else going on over there. And back to my original point, Mitchell Robinson come through, things could change, y'all. We're over here talking about they can't beat this team. They have zero chance of winning against team. Mitchell Robinson come through. I think that conversation changes a whole lot.
Can we grade the Mikal Bridges pick? I mean, not pick, trade. Well, actually, no. I don't. Obviously, it'd be an F. Well, I don't know if it'd be an F, but I don't want to grade the trade. I want to grade how he's played this year.
Ignoring what he was traded for, just in a vacuum. How good?
Yeah, let's get all that out of our mind. Because
they signed him.
That's going to water everything down. Let's just talk about how he's played.
I'll start with a compliment. He's better than Paul George.
Who'd you say? Who'd you say?
He's been better than Paul George this year.
I don't know if I agree with that, but
wait, who y'all talking about? Ron? Who'd you say?
Mikal Bridges.
Okay.
If you just look at Mikal Bridges and Paul George just as players, ignoring that Paul George.
No, he's not better than him. He's playing better.
Yeah, I'm saying if you just look at them both for what they've done, ignore the fact that Paul George is making $50 million.
He's making less podcasts. I'll give him credit for that.
Ignore the fact that Mikal was traded for 5 first-round picks and just look at how they're both playing. I don't know if I agree that Mikal's playing better than him. Not to a degree where I can say it comfortably anyway. I think they both just been. Yeah.
Miles, I can't go off of what you were traded for. I mean, just because you were traded for more, that doesn't mean that I'm not playing better. I mean, Mikal has been playing within himself. He started out not good because his shot wasn't good, but then he started playing more within his game. He started playing more in the mid-range. He started getting out in transition a lot more. Paul George, on the other hand, we still expect him to be what he used to be, the one-on-one dominant
well, maybe
player.
you shouldn't expect that.
Yo, the Nets
are
scammers.
For $200 million?
The Nets
no, but I'm saying
scammers.
ignore the price tag because if we
can't do that, boss.
We can't ignore Mikal Bridges was traded for 5 first-round picks.
We can't, but Mikal's not even playing that bad. He's clearly playing better than Paul George.
I don't agree with that. It's clear. I need an explanation as to how it would be clear.
He's not Paul George. There's your explanation.
Yeah, cool. But like Mikal, in my opinion, has been Paul George, in my opinion, has been But Paul George is obviously held to a higher standard, A, because of the contract, B, because of the expectations Philly had. I understand all of that. But if we're just saying, look at them both, just in a vacuum as players, ignore all outside context that is away from the basketball court. Ignore the fact that Paul George is making $212 million, whatever he's making.
Just
ignore the fact that Mikal Bridges was traded for 5 first-round picks.
Right.
Just look at what they are doing on the basketball court. Why has Mikal Bridges just definitively been better? Maybe he has been better. I'm not saying he hasn't. Right. I just don't think it's as clear as, he's been better than Paul George. Like I don't see that.
The reason why I'm all is because in his role, he was not brought there, even though he was traded for 5-1s. But you want to take that off the table. All right, I can get with that. But in his role as the number 3 guy, as a defender, as a guy who can knock down open shots,
he's been worse defensively than Paul George.
Well, has he been really?
If you say
Paul George
relative to his role, yes. They're asking
Yes.
Mikal to be a point of attack defender and he's getting fried. They're asking Paul George to be an off-ball defensive playmaker. And has he been great? No, but that
he's definitely been worse. He's definitely been worse than Mikal Bridges as an off-ball playmaker, because that's not his game ever. That's never really been his game.
Paul George isn't an off-ball playmaker?
Has he always
That's
been?
always been him.
Are we talking about defense or offense?
Defense.
Okay, so we're talking about defense.
Yeah.
So this season, who's been a better off-ball playmaker, Mikal Bridges or
Paul George.
I always thought that I'm watching Mikal Bridges. He's been a lot better in the passing lanes, much better.
Than Paul George?
Yes, this season, 100% he has been.
I just don't agree with you.
100% he's been better than him.
I guess I could look at
even as an on-ball defender. I think
The
he's been better than Paul George.
probably
The problem
favor
is,
Paul.
but his
off-ball. I mean, yeah, because
we-
he's more active in the passing lane. He's also an off-ball defender. Mikal Bridges is being used as a point of attack defender. He's not even off the ball that much.
The problem is we see a lot of times Mikal Bridges getting roasted by Jason Tatum. So we don't see Paul George in the lineup nearly as much. And on top of that, Philly is bad. So a lot of that stuff that Paul George does has been empty. A lot of it hasn't led to anything.
Well, the team sucks for many reasons, including Paul George.
I was about to say, and one of those.
Well,
reasons
yeah, like I said,
Paul
he's
George.
making 50 million. You kind of handicap your roster when you have 50 million.
I think it might be a narrative argument, because one of these players is regressing at 34, which makes sense, and the other one is regressing at 28, which maybe makes a little less sense. And in terms of what was paid for one versus the other, you can talk about Paul George's contract, but
Right.
I mean, Mikal Bridges and Paul George technically have been asked to do pretty much the same thing. If you came in and this year and said they were twins, I'm saying in terms of a pecking order.
Paul George is top 5 in the league in deflections, by the way. Just want to put that out there.
Where's Mikal Bridges?
Where's Nikola Jokic?
I'm
kidding. Okay.
Well, Mikal. Okay, I'll find Mikal. Where is he at? He's not on the first page. If that helps, he's below Russell Westbrook, I think.
Wait, but Mikal Bridges, I'm just curious to see why is he regressing. Mikal Bridges is regressing. Why and how?
First of all, I think the Nets are scam artists.
Yeah, but how is Mikal regressing though?
Because it's regression relative to what was expected. Now,
That's not regression.
But
if I don't do what you expect me to do, that's just not me meeting expectations.
Fair enough,
That's
but
not
the
regression.
expectations were created based on performance, and the performance was based on content.
Yeah, they were made based on reputation because he wasn't a good defender.
You got
Mikal Bridges gets 1.7.
You got to look at how he's played in different situations.
He wasn't in Brooklyn. The last time Mikal was a good defender was 2022.
Agreed.
I completely
agree with you. So, look, I have tried my best to study the history of peaks, because I always want to know, where is a player relative to where they are right now, where are they heading, right? And it's not an exact science. You have a player like DeMar DeRozan, where at 27, 28, you could have said he's done, and then he wasn't done. He had 6 gears to go from, where he was to where he is. Some people don't do that. But a lot of players, a lot of wings follow this trajectory of 24 to 27, 24 to 27. That athleticism goes, and then suddenly they're just like, can you maintain this? Can you maintain where you're at for a couple years? Can you slow down the regression into your 30s? And I think we're so ruined by LeBron. Exceptional examples like LeBron James, where you're like, yeah, it's totally normal for a player to be, perfectly serviceable at 40. No, it's not.
No, it is not.
Players are done at 34, 35. So when you are a fan of a team that is signing a 34-year-old player to a 5-year max or 4-year max, you better buckle up, because you are signing up for hell, potentially. Now, again, comes down to the player, comes down to luck, but sometimes you just can't go. You look at Paul George, you think he doesn't want to go downhill? He does want to go downhill. He just can't attack anymore. With Mikal Bridges, I think it's possible to say that his best year was probably 22 in terms of just overall impact. Now, he was in the finals. He had that reputation as being probably the best player traded in a Kevin Durant trade, although let's just be honest, that trade was about a lot more than just Mikal Bridges. And then you just have to do the calculus on your own end, which is saying, what I'm watching right here, how does it project forward? It's worth noting, Mikal Bridges never made an all-star team, ever. He's never even sniffed an all-NBA selection. So when you give up 5 firsts and a swap for him to be your final piece, and you're expecting defensive impact when he hasn't shown defensive impact for 2-3 years, man, you are really gambling.
He's 160th in deflections. I just spent all that time counting. So Paul George is top 5. Mikal Bridges is 160th. I think,
but he's top
alongside
200.
alongside my eye test, I
it's
think it's fair to say Paul George is a more active defensive playmaker off the ball. I think that's fair to say. But go ahead, you got it.
Pirate.
Ron,
It's good to see you again.
good morning, Ron. It's good to see you.
Get him to read all his super chats.
How
all
do
of
you
them.
feel about
he does be sending
this
them
whole
weird chats.
Knicks thing and them not beating contenders and Mikal Bridges and everything from top to bottom?
Yeah, I had to tap in real quick. It's real early in the morning for me, but yeah, this touches on one of my biggest bugaboo following the NBA. I have to say the Knicks logistically are not contenders, and it should be obvious because it's just frankly the nature of the league. The NBA is the most predictable sports league by far, and every season it seems like people forget that. And I mean, just as an example, let's look. There have been 78 champions in the NBA. Do you know how many champions have been outside of the top 3 seeds in 78 years?
No,
Houston Rockets.
2.
The Houston Rockets and the Spurs.
The 95 Rockets and the 69 Celtics. It's the only two. 98% of the champions are in the top 3 seed. 88% of the champions are top 2 seed. 66% of the champions are the top 1 seed. Over 60% of the champions are the team with the highest SRS. It's the most predictable league there is. A team like the Knicks, the odds of them actually winning the championships are next to nil. They're in a conference with the Cavs and Boston are simply better. For them to win, they would essentially they would have to beat Boston in the second round, and beat Cleveland in the conference finals, and then they would have to go on and probably beat OKC. The odds of that happening are literally next to nothing. So, I mean, this season, I've seen it pretty much from the beginning, pretty much a 3-horse race. OKC, Boston, and Cleveland have separated themselves from the league pretty. I personally have it at about a 93% chance that it's going to be one of those 3 teams. And OKC, I got at over a 50% chance, and if it's not OKC, it's virtually set that it's going to be Boston or Cleveland.
Well,
I mean, that's just the way it goes in the NBA. You know, I mean, like we talk about these 4th seeds, 5th seeds, 6th seeds teams. You know, I mean, it's a show about basketball, so you got to fill airtime. But the fact is, year in, year out, when the playoffs come around, the same thing happens over and over and over again in the NBA.
Yes, it's not news that the best teams in the NBA at the top of the league, they're the ones there at the end of the season. I mean, I won't argue that. I thought the Spurs were a 4 seed at one point when they won the NBA championship.
I thought the Bullets were a 4 seed. Turns out they were the 3 seed with 44 wins. So,
yeah.
No, there were two teams in 78 years outside of the top 3 seeds. So pretty much any season, whenever you're
they got a chance.
Yeah, they do. The Knicks.
No, sure, they got it. Yeah, sure, they got a chance, but I mean, it's.
Okay, I mean, if we being honest, because you just brought it up yourself, I'm sorry, about seeds. Just so you know, in 22, the Warriors were the 3 seed. They won the NBA championship that year. The Bulls in 93, they were the 3 seed. They won the NBA championship that year. So it's not ridiculous to think that a 3 seed could win the NBA championship. Now, is it likely?
Yeah, no, but chill. It's happened less than 10% of the time, and that's counting every year in, year out. That's not counting the years where you're a 3 seed and then you have 2 teams ahead of you that all fundamental indicators point to being a better team than you.
Well, you need some things to go your way if you're a lower seed. No question about that. You definitely need some things to happen that didn't happen in the past. So, prime example.
We've seen 2 8 seeds make it to the finals
and lose.
The Knicks,
and lose.
Okay, but okay.
Well, we've seen him make it to the finals, though.
There's nothing
That's
magical.
Yeah,
that
but
wasn't-
he said
that
win the
wasn't-
nothing
championship.
magical
lose.
about this. And also, can
he
we
said
just
that- he
acknowledge
said
that
it's
the
most
league
predictable.
the league has more teams now. Okay, we're talking about data from when the league had 23 teams, right?
Facts.
Right.
70 is, you said 78 years. Like throw away the first 50 of that and just focus on like the last
So since
28.
2000s.
Yeah, pretty much.
No, the
Since
the odds
2000, I mean,
diminish
since 2000, I think
when you
every
had
team
when
knows
you
what
when
it's
you had
gonna
more
be.
teams, because now the top teams are playing even lower caliber teams. I mean, it's substantial history. It is what it is. It's 78 years in the book. I mean,
I don't know if you can play a lower caliber.
you can guess that, you can call it math football or whatever it is, but I mean, they're
This is
like
not
the
math
indicators
football,
are what they are, and the people setting the books and betting on these things,
I promise you, Vegas
they
does not
got
care what happened
data
28 years ago. I promise you, Vegas does not care. I mean, like, okay, yeah, it's almost a tautological argument to say like, okay, teams that are really good in the regular season have a good chance of winning the playoffs or winning the championship. But again, like we've seen, okay, I'll give you an example. What about legacy franchises and big market teams, right? If you had done the data in 2019 and said, what are the odds of a small market team winning an NBA championship, or what are the, you know what I mean? Like you probably would have said it's less than 15% based on my data. And then we get Denver and Milwaukee and you know what I mean? Like we get back to backs there. And I'm just saying, like, overall, you can take the data, but the game is different. The league is different. The league has pushed towards parity. The cap changes a lot of things. And I just think that there's more talent. And when I'm looking around, I'm not just seeing like two powerhouse teams or one powerhouse team. There are iterations of the NBA where it was a foregone conclusion that it was going to be the Celtics or the Lakers every year. There were those years. There are years where one team is just so significantly above. But I'll tell you what, right now, you cannot predict the NBA Finals right now. Right now, you cannot tell me who's winning the championship.
No, you can't predict
Well,
it, Ken,
and
but you can predict,
this is why it's my bugaboo, because year in, year out, this conversation comes up that anything can happen, and the fact is that anything doesn't happen. Year in, year. So, I mean, there's no way. It's the future, so none of us can say we can bet. I mean, I'm definitely willing to lay any bet on the prospect that. I mean,
but you know that it's going to be one of these top three teams that win it. Like it's
every champion
for the most part,
in a season like this, in a season that's playing out the way that because this season is played out to be a very stratified season. The separation between OKC in the West and Boston and Cleveland in the East is very distinct compared to the average season that's come before. So yeah, in this type of season, I would say the odds of one of those three teams not winning is slim to none. I mean, something very drastic would have to happen.
According to the numbers, those three teams are probably the teams that are going to win the NBA championship. These other teams like Milwaukee and
virtually guaranteed.
Okay, look,
virtually guaranteed.
One of those three teams are going to win the NBA championship this year.
I can't say
absolutely.
And you might be able to throw two other teams in there. You might be able to throw the Bucks, throw
you can throw a couple pennies.
There's a couple other teams that you can
throw.
Bucks betting a
dollar. Denver, you know what I'm saying? Like
for every dollar that you bet, I'd say bet between 55 to 60 cents on OKC. 22 to 23 cents on Cleveland, 20 cents on Boston, and then you got a couple of pennies to sprinkle around on
60 on OKC
maybe the Knicks, maybe the Nuggets, but
that's okay. I mean, like it's a 7-game series. It's meant to promote the best team. It's meant to take out the outliers, right? Whereas in football, you just got to do it one game. Anything could happen.
Right.
One game, right?
Exactly. That's part of it.
Anything could happen. So are we saying that it's a bad thing that the best teams are actually getting through? We want. No,
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. And I mean, I love it for what it is. I think basketball is a sport where you play 82 games. You play a lot of games. It's a repetitive sport. It's kind of similar to track and field in that it really exposes where you are at it as a team. And that's why, like, people who say the regular season doesn't matter in the NBA, it's just like nothing could be further from the truth. Like, the regular season in the NBA after 82 games, it really exposes what you can and what you can't do, and it really exposes the best teams. And then on top of that, like you just said, it's a series, and so the better team has a built-in advantage with the home field. That's why you look at a team like the Knicks. Like I said, like, if you look at realistically, if they end the season in the 3rd seed, they're going to have to go to Boston and win, and then they're going to have to go to Cleveland and win, and then they're going to have to beat probably OKC. And I mean, can something like that happen? There's maybe a 1 or 2% chance that it can happen. But if you play that scenario out 100 times, 98 times, it's not going to happen.
I look at it as degrees of separation, right? So when I look at like the 96 Bulls, I see them as tiers above. So you could say they are prohibitive favorites, if not guaranteed locks, unless something terrible happens to make the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals. And then it's just going to be like, are they going to win in 6, 5, or 7? But I think the equation changes when the gap between teams changes. Right now, you can say there are 3 prohibitive favorites, right? You can say definitely, OKC, Boston, and Cleveland.
Right.
I could see any one of those teams losing in the second round. And I don't think it's that crazy. And I just want to say to anyone out there who's saying, how are you arguing with 78 years of history? I'm saying that the league is not the same. This commissioner has pushed towards parity every step of the way. Every move with the CBA has been to push parity. And so you're going to have, and I think that's partially because they want to beat that. I think they want to beat the idea that, oh, this is a foregone conclusion. Right?
But Penn, to
Penn, I mean, let's be clear. I'm not saying any one of those 3 teams has 100% chance, but I'm saying the odds of OKC getting bounced, and then Boston also getting bounced, and Cleveland also getting bounced.
It's very unlikely. It's very.
Who said it was likely? Why would the 3 best teams all being bounced mean? Like, why is that a good thing? No. Why is the predictability or lack of predictability, being based on the fact that this incredible event where all 3 of the best teams get bounced in the opening round? Like, do you know what I mean? I'm sorry, I'm struggling to understand this. Maybe I'm stupid, but
I think he was just stating it as a fact, though, Penn. I don't think he was trying to say like
it's good or bad. Sometimes
it is a fact. Well,
that's all, Penn. I don't think he was trying to push an agenda, bro.
Wasn't Toronto at the Penn? Where was Toronto at in 2019 when the playoffs started?
They were a 2 seed. They were
number 2 seed.
Every champion since 2000 has been a top 3 seed.
A top 3 seed. Every last one.
That's what he said. He's not saying it's good or bad. That's the case. Yeah, the reality of the situation is whether you go throughout all of NBA history with the 2 teams that won a top 3 seed, or you go since 2000, every single championship, every champion has been a top 3 seed. That's it. It's not this is good because every champion has been a top 3 seed, or this is bad because every champion has been a top 3 seed. The reality is every champion has been a top 3. The reality is there's a lot of people in poverty. Me saying that does not mean I agree with poverty. Like, it's just the reality of the situation.
I think
you like poverty?
I think all I'm saying is that the gap,
I love it.
The gap that I look at is between the best team and like the 10th best team. Every year, I want to understand how wide is that gap. Okay. Now, for most years in league history, that gap has been seismic. It's been enormous, right? Between the haves and have-nots, because the haves have stacked the deck. The haves have had bloated payrolls. The haves have paid luxury tax. The haves have been competently run, and the have-nots simply can't compete. Well, you don't have a Golden State superpower anymore. You don't have the Heatles. You don't have these types of juggernaut teams. Okay. Now you could argue that the Cavs are a juggernaut in their own right because of how well they've been managed. You could argue that the Thunder are a juggernaut in their own right. You could argue that. You could argue that the Celtics, are paying the luxury tax to be, their own version of a juggernaut, right? But what I'm saying is, I don't think that the gap between 1 and 10 has ever been quite this close, as evidenced by the fact
that Penn, I want you to stay right there. So what's the gap between right now with the Knicks and Indiana. I mean, they're four games away from each other. But what's the gap between these teams in your estimation?
How do I answer that? Like, am I like
the reason why I'm asking you that is because what you're telling me is that today there's a sizable gap between teams, but then you're also telling me that Adam Silver is pushing parity, right? So if Adam Silver is pushing parity, that means that he's trying to get as many champions in contention, one, or to win it, because that puts more eyes on the screen, that makes the league more popular, right? So with that being said, that gives people more hope that their team can win it. With that being said, if that more hope that their team can win it. So with that being said, if there's a sizable gap, or is there parity? So if I think about the Indiana Pacers and the Knicks, what's the gap, or is it parity between those two guys?
They could beat them. The Knicks could beat the Pacers. The Pacers could beat the Knicks. I'm not against it. Like,
Right.
you know, one injury, one bad, you know, shooting game, and it tilts the series. Like, it really just comes down to home court advantage, right? With two relatively evenly matched teams, it's on the team that has home court advantage to just hold serve and win the games you're supposed to win. So what happens when you go into the Garden and you're the 6th seed, if you're, you know, Indiana, and you knock them out in game 1 because you had a hot shooting night? I think the 3-point shot is a huge swing variable. Huge. Because so many threes make the variance of the game so much greater, right? Like,
Right.
you really can't tell me 100% if the Knicks are going to win by 20, you know, because Indiana goes cold, or they're going to lose by 25 because Indiana gets hot. Like, that type of variance has never existed in the NBA, other than maybe like the 80s or the 70s. Like when the pace was higher, like, it just creates drastic, you know, measurables. Now, the thing about the playoffs has always been consistent as the game slows down. It slows down. And typically your best players are going to carry you through because the shots get tougher. And as the shots get tougher, talent really shines. So there's a reason why these top end teams, you know, consistently are getting like the advantage in the history books. But I just think, like, right now, if you told me Orlando, they're struggling, right?
Yes.
Paolo gets it together. If Suggs comes back, they could upset somebody. They could 100% upset somebody. That's a good team. They can be a good team. They have the pieces there to be a good team.
I have no
faith
in Orlando at all.
Well, right now you don't, because they're struggling very, very badly. But, you know, even like in the West, right? I mean, through Luka's first 3 games, we were like, oh my God, this Lakers team, they're not going to hold on. We had a whole drawn out discussion about it. You see the last game against Denver, what they did. You're telling me Luka and LeBron can't win you a series upset, you know, in the first round? Definitely could, man. So I don't know, man. I think it's exciting that there's so many teams that I could see in the finals. But if you tell me the Lakers, like, here's my question to you, Cho. If I told you the Lakers made it to the finals, would you be surprised? Like, would you be like, drop the phone? This is crazy. I can't believe
Lakers
that.
in the NBA championship, that would not surprise me. No, it wouldn't.
If the Clippers were in the NBA finals,
I would be like, oh shit.
Really?
Yes.
Because they're
like,
an amazing defense. So if Paul George,
the Clippers ain't made the finals ever, so it would be shocking to the world.
Well, 78 years. Okay. So sorry, not 78 years.
Finals.
Sorry. What I'm saying is,
everybody in the world would be shocked. That means their curse ain't real.
Okay, if Anthony Davis comes back, no, just try to imagine what I'm saying. Like, close your eyes and imagine there's a world that Anthony Davis and Derek Lively come back. Would it surprise you if the Mavericks made the finals?
No.
Would it be shocked?
No,
Wouldn't shock me either.
Mm-mm.
There's like 6 teams I could say that about in the West, and 2 to 3 teams in the East that I could say that about. And I'm trying to think back in league history, and this is why, like, to the chat who's kind of like patiently waiting for me to land my damn plane here, that's all I'm trying to say. Is I don't remember a lot of years in league history where I could realistically imagine 9 teams in the finals and not be like, something's wrong here. That's not true.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. Yeah, the player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.